Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the full-time podcast. We have got a lot of transfers to get through today, and there's some big ones, a lot to do with Saudi stuff as well, which we'll talk about, and some very big transfers and rumours as well. Don't forget about the rumours, although probably about 80% of them are not true. But let's just kick it off straight away, and obviously Declan Rice has now officially gone to Arsenal for 105 million. 105 million. It's obviously a massive price tag, but if someone wanted 120, then they're going to hold out, and they wouldn't settle for 90 million. There were bids from obviously Arsenal and Man City, but they didn't take them. And I think one of the concerns about whether Arsenal would actually get him or not was when I think Arsenal put 90 million on that would be paid over 6 years. Like, I'm sorry, but who would take that, even for the best player in the world? If we're gonna sell Declan Rice, we're not gonna be paid 90 million over 6 years because we need to replace him. And then obviously Man City were also in the race, which could have been a blunder for Arsenal, because if Man City got them, then Man City would have been absolutely unstoppable. They have got Kovacic now. But imagine if Arsenal could have got Declan Rice as well. Declan Rice and Kovacic. I mean, they've lost Ilkay Gundogan, but that would have been a bloody brilliant midfield. I think Arsenal were always going to get him. I think Rice wanted to go to Arsenal more than City. Although, the trouble with going to Arsenal instead of City is if City did put a bid on the table, say 110 million, instead of Arsenal's 105, would Rice rather go to Man City? Because if he did, he'd probably, definitely win a trophy. He'll probably win the Prem next year with them. Favourites of the Champions League next year as well. But he's taken Arsenal, and obviously he has hope in the sort of Arteta project and their uphill climb, and also he knows that if he goes to Man City, he'll be a part of the squad at the Arsenal, but a part of the squad at City, just sort of someone there, whereas at Arsenal, he will be one of the main men. If someone's going to get them to glory, it'll be Declan Rice. We've seen this season with the team they've obviously got young players, and Declan Rice is young. He's not even past 28, really, when it's supposed to be his peak. He's maybe not even at his peak yet. Maybe he never even passed his peak at West Ham. But I think for Rice, it was the decision of whether he'd want to obviously go and win things at City and get the trophies, or go to Arsenal and be someone who will be the person who ultimately gets them the trophies, if they do get any. Kovacic to Man City as well, which we sort of could talk about, to do with Declan Rice, although it was done before, whilst Man City was still making their bids. I think that with City losing Gundogan and with Kovacic, I would have, as a West Ham fan, I would have absolutely loved him at West Ham, because at Man City, even though they've lost Gundogan, he probably won't get as much game time as he obviously would at West Ham, and we can offer him European football. Although, I think if it's a choice between West Ham and Man City come in with a bid, we didn't even come in with a bid, but if there was a choice, you have to go with Man City, don't you? It would just be game time that would get him to West Ham. 36 million, though, is a good price tag for Kovacic. I think he's a brilliant player. You could say that, he's not had a brilliant season, but every single Chelsea player hasn't had a brilliant season. My hair's gone all messed up now. So because Chelsea have had a rubbish season, they're not even in Europe. So obviously Kovacic would move, and obviously a lot of the Chelsea players would move, as we can see on this list of transfers that I've got that we're going off of. Next one though, Maddison to Spurs is a big one for Spurs. 53 million is, I don't know whether to say a bargain, probably sort of a bargain. He probably may be worth about 60, 70 million if you're going something like that. He was obviously going to move from Leicester, it's just who would he go to? And I think it's sort of like a Declan Rice. He could have gone to a club that had European football, and he could have had that real step up. Well, Spurs isn't really a step up from where they finished last season, is it now? But I think with Maddison, if anyone apart from Kane, if Kane leaves, then Maddison will be one of the key players in the squad, and he obviously will be even when Kane's there. But if the possibility of if Kane leaves, then he will be a big part of that. De Gea leaving Man United, and I think that over this season, Man United fans have been just so disrespectful for him, because yes, this season's probably been his worst season, and I think he won, was it Goalkeeper of the Month one season even, but for most of the season the defence in front of him wasn't brilliant. It wasn't a Newcastle style defence or a Man City style defence, so he's going to have to make saves, and he's obviously going to make mistakes. Maybe if they're ever not going to get top four, it could have been a lot of the blame put on him because of the West Ham game where he made that massive mistake against Ben Rama's shot. But I'm not going to complain, I'm a West Ham fan. But yeah, this season I just think the Man U fans have just wanted him to go, whereas he's stayed at the club for almost 7 years or maybe even a decade now, and he's saved them from so much, not like literally saving, as well as keeping them in games and everything. You know, he's made some wonder saves to get them points in the in his prime. I would have loved to have De Gea instead of whoever we'd had it, bloody goalkeeper. Tonali to Newcastle though, 45 million. 45 million. And actually though, I do think 45 million is a good price tag. He's not, well, he's loads better than bloody Gordon. If you know, you know, basically. That's the joke of it. But anyway, I think that's a brilliant signing for Newcastle because they've got the best defence in the league. Well, last season they had the best defence in the league. This season they'll have one of the best defences in the league, and they'll probably add to it as well. And now they're looking like they're having a brilliant midfield with some good attacking players. Wilson, who scores goals, especially against West Ham. You have Saint-Maximin, who actually is probably going to Saudi Arabia. Joel Linton, who's actually now playing sort of as a midfielder. You have Almiron, who at the start of the season shows his quality. Bloody hell, if he did that the whole season, Newcastle would be well on their way. I mean, they obviously are, but they'd be better than they are, basically. And then Szoboszlai, if I can pronounce it, has gone to Liverpool for almost basically the same price, 44 million. And I think it's more than McAllister, actually, which is a bit weird, but, you know, different things for different clubs. But I do think that will obviously add to Liverpool's midfield. Anything will at the moment. Him, probably, well, McAllister and maybe Fabinho in midfield is a very, very solid midfield. It won't be up there as one of the best midfields in the league, but from this season's midfield, let's be honest, it was rubbish. It's what let their season down inevitably. It's a big step up, and it's a step in the right direction. And I put this one on there. We won't actually talk about it too much. Connor Cody has gone to Leicester. I don't know why, because he was getting starts for Wolves quite regularly. I mean, he will get starts for Leicester as well quite regularly. But why would you go from the Premier League to a Championship club? I don't know. And obviously, Leicester paying 11 million for him is quite a good, solid thing for Leicester. Who will he replace? Probably Wout Faes, who I think at one point had scored the most Liverpool goals when he scored those 2 own goals for, or was it 2 or 3 against Liverpool? But yeah, well, I just can't really understand why Conor Cody would do that. But anyway, he's gone to Leicester for 11 million. And then, I just remembered this one, that Kai Havertz went to Arsenal. He went before Declan Rice was signed, so I was talking to my dad about it, obviously, with the Declan Rice saga, and saying, well, if Arsenal are willing to just give 56 million to Chelsea for Kai Havertz, and then they sort of 90 million over 6 years, then they give this and that, and and they drag it out for Declan Rice, then what are you doing? Just splash the cash. If you can do it for Kai Havertz, you can do it for Declan Rice. And I think Kai Havertz will definitely be an addition for the Arsenal squad. I think him and Declan Rice is 2 very good signings this summer already. They're probably going to maybe win the transfer window, if that's what people say nowadays, like win the transfer windows and have the best transfer window. Need to swallow. But, I think Jesus this season, he had an injury for a lot, obviously, because of the World Cup. But having him and Havertz either as a pair sort of centre forward and striker, or even 2 at striker, but having either, say, Jesus starting and Havertz as a replacement backup, or vice versa, is a good attacking sort of thing. And Saka can only get better, probably. And Martinelli on the other side. But yeah, I think it's a good signing for Arsenal, and it's good for Kai Havertz, because he's had a rubbish season at Chelsea. Obviously, he wasn't meant to score goals. And he didn't score any goals. He wasn't meant to, and he did his job and didn't score any. But also, İlkay Gündoğan, who left City, has actually gone to Barcelona for 23 million, which is a fairly good price for İlkay Gündoğan. And I think if he wasn't actually linked to any Saudi club, but they would have taken him, wouldn't they? So I think going to Barcelona for however long you've got left in your career is a good move. And obviously, it's not as good as City. He won't win as many trophies as Man City. But it's a solid move for him, because he's going to get played at Barcelona. And he'll get Champions League football too, really. So I don't know really why he'd leave City for that. But maybe it's just decisions of footballers. Also, Nkunku to Chelsea, who's I think one of their only signings this summer. And with losing Kai Havertz, I don't think they had anyone else except that random Fofana bloke at striker, so they needed someone. And Nkunku is a very good signing. And I think he will... I don't know whether he'll be the type of the Kane player that can score 20, 25, 26 a season. But he'll definitely add to the squad, and he'll definitely put goals into the squad. Because remember when they had that goal drought for the whole season, and I was making videos in front of my green screen going, oh, they can't score goals. And they couldn't score goals for half that season. And then I don't know what happened, but they started scoring goals and they got a little bit better, and it all just sort of flopped at the end. And then they finished 12th. But Nkunku is a very good signing. And now, before we end, some Saudi stuff. We have got 2 to Al Hilal, Koulibaly and Neves. Neves, why would he move? Because Neves was obviously linked with Liverpool, which they could have done with. I don't actually know how old he is. He looks fairly old, so that's probably the reason why he's gone. And Kante, also to Al Ittihad. So that's, I don't know whether you can really call it Kante's legacy. But what has happened to him? Because Kante is just... Remember when he peaked and he was like one of the best midfielders in the world? And then he's got some injuries and just... He never gets played. And when he does play, he's just sort of there. He doesn't really do that much or doesn't do anything spectacular like he used to. But anyway, that's it really. Cheers for watching. You've been watching Full Time Podcast. Remember to subscribe. We'll soon have the episode out. We're doing one with Will Rhodes and some other people, whoever can do it really. See you later on. Goodbye.